Okay, so I stumbled on this video, and I'll make a few points, but let's just check it out first, eh?
This Republican social worker asked the question that no one else dared to, and this duo did not hold back in exposing the truth.
Question: what advice do you have for me?
Okay, first of all, if you're not aware of who these dudes are, well, these are conservative, right-wing sort of social commentator type people. They go to universities, they engage, I believe, partially intellectually dishonestly. Maybe they're not as intellectually dishonest as I sort of fear, but whoever edits these shorts, definitely is, because, the broader picture of the raw content of these people going onto university campuses and debating their ideology is kind of lost if it's just edited down. But I mean, and let's be really clear. I'm well aware that there are two very perky nipples staring straight at me. You don't need to remind me, but that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the content of what this woman's saying, and then the reaction.
Me as a Republican aspiring social worker. My personal focus is on the children in underprivileged communities, because I personally feel like they don't choose to be put in that position. But I'm having a little bit of a difficult time empathizing with the older generation of underprivileged.
Here's one way to look at it. The Great Society from Lyndon Johnson. It was a series of policies that were designed to help underprivileged communities.
Right.
They hurt the very people they were supposed to help.
How?
So you have a lot of single mothers, for example, that are paid more money not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house because of the way the math of these aid programs
What do
work.
you mean?
We as conservatives believe that if you're in poverty, it's largely because of values, not because of lack of stuff.
Like what values?
Not saving money, abandoning your spouse after impregnating, not spending all of your money on alcohol.
This Republican social worker
Okay, so a few things should be sort of stand out from that, what it did to me. So I'll explain it. First of all, there really aren't a lot of apparently right wing, benevolent Republican demographic women wanting to get into social work. That's number one. And then, of course, the rhetoric. If you're familiar with right-wing talking points, you are aware of these arguments, and I don't believe there's no validity to them. If you're not aware, then it's going to sound like, well, shit, that's pretty mean-spirited. And I won't go down that path because it's a rabbit hole, but really, a lot of the things said by Vivek and the other guy are partially objectively true, even if they word it pretty bluntly. But a large reason for that, in my opinion, is that, the vast majority of social workers coming to help these disadvantaged people, they may actually be well-meaning, and but the entire ideology, especially from the right-wing point of view, is enabling the kind of behavior that is harming disadvantaged people in a way that progressive ideology refuses to acknowledge, actively sort of says, no, you're wrong, fuck you, right-winger. And one way to really help balance this out would be if more apparently right-wing conservative women who are benevolent and not hardened into, right-wing ideology, blaming everything on bad policy, a bit of tough love will fix everything. Oh, am I right? Well, that's a pretty, male perspective, and conservatives are quite comfortable with, the men of conservative culture sort of owning these narratives. But they really are unaware of the fact that for them to actually implement any of their ideology into policies, for them to even start helping people honestly based on their ideology, well, they kind of need the support of their own camp of conservative or right-wing women who want to be social workers, because fuck all of them do. This woman apparently does. And really, if more women like this were getting into social work, there'd be more social workers who get a different perspective of ideology. There'd be more disadvantaged people who are going to get a different perspective, who will never listen to the mean-spirited kind of rhetoric of these dudes. They're far more likely to listen to, the different perspective help of a right-wing woman choosing to be in social work. It's that simple. It doesn't sound like they really encouraged her to pursue social work. They didn't seem to treat her like she was even one of them, which is really baffling, man. Like, I mean, if you're intellectually honest, you want to help disadvantaged people the best effective way, regardless of ideology. And if you're claiming that the other side of ideology is actively harming these people with apparently benevolent policy, well, then you need to change the culture. And the first place to start, I would think, is obvious, is for more women in social work, or just social workers in general, to not be bleeding heart progressives on the hive mind of progressive ideology, because they're only going to feed disadvantaged people the same ideology that you think is damaging them. So why the hell aren't you why aren't you encouraging conservative right-wing women like this to be social workers? Why aren't you recognizing that this is quite rare? Why aren't you being a little bit more nuanced? Well, I hate to say it, but this is why I still fundamentally don't really respect the right wing as much as I could, because a lot of their ideas that I used to just dismiss or not really engage with seem to be kind of true in the abstract, but end of the day is, if they're not going to put foot soldiers on the ground to sort of help disadvantaged people learn different ideologies, bypassing people reinforcing it, well, here's your chance. And maybe these men are as misogynistic and as right-wing as a lot of my friends might assume, who don't engage with this, and all they see is a pretty tattooless conservative woman with two perky nipples, being a little bit naive. Because let's face it, this little crew are quite sexist and misogynistic from the point of view of progressives. They make no sort of apologies about that. And I mean, if you won't take women seriously from your own camp, choosing to do social work in a way that can really affect disadvantaged people according to your own ideology that you preach, well, then you're kind of a piece of shit asshole, aren't you now?